Now, I'm pretty sure most of us saw another round of changes come into the legendary staff that we're going to get in Firelands because it kind of didn't make sense. Like I said in a previous video, the numbers made sense from a 10-man perspective, but didn't quite add up for 25. So 10-man's exactly the same, so if you're a 10-man guild, straight away, before we even look at what they've done, don't panic. It's only 25-man that's going to be affected, and in a positive way, of course, which is a good thing. Now, they've also thrown in another little change, which I want to just touch on really briefly, and this is not scripted. I'm just going to be very much off at the top of my head because I've just got off stream and we was talking about this exact thing, is the actual cadence of Cataclysm in terms of what we got left and what Blizzard said about extending Firelands past January. Now, I don't think they're actually extending Firelands into Dragonsoul, because obviously that's going to be the next raid, because of the reasons they said about letting everybody enjoy Firelands and getting the staff. I actually think it's around the fact that Firelands is late. So they don't want you to expect Dragonsoul to come in January when we've actually got Firelands a touch later than we should have. I'll get more on that after we've had a look at what they've done, though. So they said they've heard our feedback loud and clear, and they're happy that we're excited about the recent changes to the 10-man acquisition rates, and they want to address those in the 25-man groups. Now, you can see straight away, again, they're talking in the same language around how many you're going to get over 12 weeks, and I do actually think that that's because we're not going to be doing Firelands much longer than 12 weeks. So that's the first hint about what we're going to talk about in a minute. But in a 12-week period now as a 25-player group killing all 7 bosses in Firelands each week, you can expect to fully assemble 7.5 to 11.25 legendary Dragon Wrath staves. Now, what this averages out, because exactly what I've done with a 10-man version, which hasn't changed, which is still 3 to 4.5. I said if you cut these numbers straight down the middle, the 4.5 at the top end is going to be great if you're lucky and you get to make that many, but on average, it's going to be 3 still. And the same way with this being 7.5 to 11.25, there will be guilds that are lucky and absolutely make 11 in a 12-week period, but on average, it's going to be 9. Now, they said the acquisition rates in 25-player are now approximately 2.5 times faster than those of 10-man, but if we take those averages, it's actually 3 times as fast because it's 3 in 10-man versus 9 on average in 25. Which, I just want to put it out there straight away, I'm not complaining. Like I said in a previous video, as long as they left the 10-man acquisition exactly the same, it really doesn't matter what they do with 25. So I'd be quite happy for 25 to always be guaranteed to get 11 over 12 weeks. It doesn't matter because the whole raid team in a 10-man, everybody who needs the staff in a conventional 10-man setup, are going to get their staves before Dragonsoul anyway. Now, the little kicker that they've thrown in here is they're adding a second guaranteed mount, the Smouldering Egg of Milagazor, hopefully I said that right, to 25 Heroic Ragnaros. Now, this isn't a second mount as in a new type of mount. Obviously, this is 2 of the same. So this is the mount that drops from killing Ragnaros on Heroic. 25-man are now going to get 2 of these instead of 1 of these. Now, that's the blue post over and done with, and we can put that to one side and think about everything that we've just read. In the history of Classic so far, where there's guaranteed mounts from end bosses, such as Mim's Head in Alduar or Invincible from ICC, never have they done this. And that's because they knew we was going to be in there for multiple months, even though some of those phases were really scheduled for 5 months-ish, no longer than that, and they still didn't increase the amount of mounts that drop. Now, they're talking in a language of 12-week periods for the staves, and now they're adding a second mount, so over that 12-week period, if you kill Ragnaros every week, nearly your entire raid is going to have the mount, because you're going to have 24 of them. Now, if we look at the Cataclysm raid release schedule that they put out a while back, they said that Dragonsoul was going to be in January, but they also said Firelands was going to be in October. So they've released Firelands a little bit later than they wanted to, so releasing Dragonsoul in January no longer makes sense. Where it makes sense to be released would be February. Now, a 12-week period would actually only take us to the end of January still. So if I was to hazard a guess on how long Firelands is actually going to last, I would say 14 weeks. I think it will be like a couple of weeks into February. It won't be exactly 12 weeks. We'll get an extra couple of weeks to get extra mounts or finish off staves or whatever. But I still don't think Firelands is going to be particularly long, and they're clearly getting ahead of the game because they know 7 bosses is not going to keep our community that engaged for that length of time. So I would hazard a guess mid-February, instead of where before it was probably going to be mid-January, is going to be Dragonsoul. few months of Dragon Soul, and then obviously straight into the MOP pre-patch. All of that's going to be made clear when we get Warcraft Direct in a little under 10 days, because on the basis we're in Firelands now, we kind of know roughly how long it's going to last until we get Dragon Soul. I think getting a MOP Classic announcement is an absolute no-brainer. If for some reason we don't, then who knows, we might get something even bigger than that. But while I'm actually on that about Warcraft Direct, I will be streaming it. So if you want to watch it along with me here on YouTube, on Twitch, on Kick, wherever you want to watch, make sure you subscribe or follow to any of those platforms, and we'll all watch it together and see some of the hopefully crazy announcements. But yeah, overall, my point around this is great. It's awesome that the 25-man teams are going to be happy now and they're going to be able to pump out loads and loads of staves. I've got absolutely no problems with that. I'm so relieved that they left 10-man alone and then double in mount drops, which tells me don't panic. I really don't think we're going to be in Firelands too long. And the reason I say don't panic is because 7 bosses is not that much. Blackwing Descent only has 6 bosses, and while Nefarian is nowhere near as hard as Ragnaros is, the other bosses with gear are going to be comparable. So, you know, once you've got some normal gear from Firelands, for example, you're going to be stomping those first 6 bosses the same way you now, in the gear that you've got, go in and stomp the first 5 in BWD. So while it might be challenging to begin with for the first few weeks, obviously as you start to get more gear, it's all going to start to become very easy. Outside of like Ragnaros, who's still going to remain very challenging, so we don't really want to be in there a ridiculous amount of time, and I think everything Blizzard sort of hinting at is kind of adding up. So it was short and sweet. I just wanted to let you know this, I guess, will be the final round of changes to Dragon Wrath. So hopefully you enjoy it. Good luck in Firelands on Thursday, and I'll see you on the next one.